Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing 5 recent features worth adding to your Notion workflow. Some of these features have already been out for a few weeks, a few months, but I thought I'd share them with you just in case they'd be helpful for your workflow, your workspace, or anything else that you're involved with. I'm going to be going through 5 different features as you can see on the screen, and I'll be going over them with examples to help you understand how it all works. If you go to notion.com/releases, you get a pretty up-to-date view of everything that's been happening in case it's been a while since you've last checked. I'm particularly excited for the database row permissions, which are partial database permissions that seem to be coming relatively soon. So first one is automating reminder notifications within a date. If we go to the database, for example, we can see that reminder is set. I set that reminder for today, and as you can see, we get this reminder in the project 2 hours ago. Go to the date property itself, and then now there is a notification option for a date property. We can go to notify, on day event, 1 day before, 2 days before, and 1 week before. You would hope that there's more variety in the way that you can set up notifications, but this is a great start considering that we didn't have this option before and you had to manually toggle it every time to set it up. Highly recommend this notification update for a date property, and I'm sure you can probably use it right off the bat and immediately after you change the setting for notification when you edit the date property. Next is the Feed-based database view for showing page content. As you can imagine, some information around a database might not fit within a property, specifically long paragraphs or notes that just look better on a page space as opposed to a database property. And so you look at the project here, we just know date and person, but if you actually open it via a database feed view property, we see this, and we can actually see all the page content that's available on that project level, as you can see here. So I added a few links. This is the text that I added, and then you can click on it to jump to that database item, and you can see that's what the page section looks like. And so this is a really great way to visualize page content that we've never been able to do before. And you can make embeds or bookmarks like I did here a little easier to see. You can click on the title and it'll open it up like so. You can also sort, filter, and add automations in the way you want. And then you can also add properties, date, checkbox, and person. We can actually show those properties at the top, and they show via a row format. It doesn't stack like a column, which is nice. Third one, it's been out for a while now, is the customized layouts, particularly pin properties. And if we go to the database template for projects, for example, and then we go to customize layout, you can do this at any point within a database entry. I just did it through a template. And then if we go to the top heading part, we can choose which properties we want to pin with date, person, and then that button that I'll be going over near the end here. We can do that. Now project database template looks like this, and we have a condensed pin view of the 3 or 4 most important things related to that project database, and it can be really helpful when you have a lot of properties going on. I also highly recommend moving certain property groups to a panel so that it looks even cleaner. So within a project now we just have the 3 most important things, for example, and then we can see the page space or the page contents quicker. You take up less space ultimately on your screen, and it could be helpful for skimming through lots of different database entries or just having a more aesthetically clean look. When you do add it to the layout, you got to click on this, pop those out, and so that's one thing I'd sort of use very intentionally, because you also don't want to lose information or hide information that's important to you. I think the last thing is you can add individual properties to a layout. You can go to add a layout, and then if you do that, you can individualize properties within a database view like so. So for checkbox, it'll look like that. I think this is particularly useful for formula-specific outputs, particularly statuses that might aggregate or take information from other properties to spit out a more elaborate status. I've done this with one of my other clients, in which there's a lot of different relations, and this status property is a great way to summarize everything related to that database entry and what's connected and what everything looks like currently. Experiment a little bit with that if you have the time and capacity to do so. The fourth one is tabulated relations. This has also been out for a while now, and it's through customized layout, but instead of the heading, you click elsewhere on the page to get to the default open state for customizing layout. And then if you go to the page settings, you see simple and tabbed. And I also like to hide property labels. So as you can see there, within the pin properties, I forgot to mention, you hide the property labels. It's pretty intuitive and it saves space as well. If it's empty, it just shows date and then person, and then when you do fill it out, it just hides the property name and simplifies the viewing of that database entry. So I think that's really helpful. But going back to the tabulated layouts, we get this format where we have tabs that are automatically generated, and then we can add tabs of our own. And for this project database, it's helpful to show tasks. You can click on tasks, and then it basically works like a standard database view with all those features: filter, sort, and group, property visibilities, and so on and so forth. What's nice is it automatically filters based on the relation. And then if we want to get a little deeper, we can say date is after today, for example, and then we have that rule saved. So we can also change the icon of this to whatever we want. We can apply it to all pages, and now we have a home section for content, and then if we go to task, it isolates that view just to that database view, and that can be incredibly helpful. With one of my clients, when there's many different databases and different entries, this tabulated view can really help isolate specific instances related to that entry, and that can be really helpful instead of having everything populate within this standard view. What I also like doing is calling the first one home, for example, and then having all the other tabulated views be specific to the relation or linked view that you're connecting. And from a UX standpoint, you can just jump to home to find everything related to that specific entry, and then go to those tabulated views for specific instances of linked database views. The last one is dynamic variables within buttons. I've gone over this countless times over my last few videos. I also have a Notion database automations playlist that I'll also link above, but I just want to show you a quick due date setup using dynamic variables to illustrate how powerful it can be and how easy it is to set it up within one contained button. I think the beauty of dynamic variables is it doesn't require a formula property within any database. You can nest formula properties within them, which can be another powerful way to elevate your workflow and your database. But in our case, I've just created this very simple due date button where, based on the priority of a task, we can stagger the due date of related tasks to a project. If I click on add due date, let's see what happens here. It's going to add a week to today, which is July 16th for high priority items. It's going to add 2 weeks to medium priority items, and then 3 weeks to low priority items. And I did that very quickly through this button and setting up these very simple dynamic variables and then editing them specifically to each priority to stagger those deadlines. In our first example here, I'm filtering out all tasks with a priority high, medium here, and low here. And then based on those filtered tasks related to this project, we are editing those database entries, and we're saying, let's add 7 days to high priority items. Let's add 14 days to medium priority items, and then 21 days. We're adding it to the date as opposed to today, but today is July 16th, and so that logic is the same. That's one really easy way to add dynamic variables and play around within a button. Did you know how to use all 5 of these features, or did you even know that they existed? I hope that this video has helped you understand some of these brand new features that are worth exploring, experimenting, and testing out to see how it fits in your workflow and how you can sort of leverage it to take your work to the next level. I think a lot of these features allow you to minimize clicks, minimize cognitive load, simplify certain things, and I'm a firm believer that a series of small, different iterations or improvements or adjustments can really compound into something much more meaningful and much more powerful over a sustained period of time. And so I think all 5 of these features are a perfect example of doing that, and I hope that you got something out of this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, share it with anyone that might benefit from this, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, thank you.